so good.
I grew up in Southern Alberta.
Oh, what? What's that? Hey, come on in. Welcome to the THC show. I'm your host, Neil Magnuson, and this is a show where we talk about some of the truths in our world that we're maybe not too happy about. We try to find some hope to be able to see the way clear to the other side of some of these truths and problems that we have, and we look for mechanisms of change to help that happen. And here for the last number of weeks we've been broadcasting from the Healing Wave Cannabis Substitution Program hippie van, and we're out here in an RV providing services to people on the downtown east side because of the long journey that we've been on to try to do this in some sort of an approved manner. We did have a storefront. For those who've been following along, you'll know the story. For those that haven't, we're the Cannabis Substitution Program. We started 4 years ago this coming February, giving out high-dose edibles through the Vancouver area network of drug users offices near Main and Hastings. And we're very successful at doing that to the point where Professor M.J. Malloy wrote numerous papers studying the effects of our program and people using harder substances and how the edibles work to get them through withdrawal and to get them using other cannabis as a substitute for the other things. And also we had the city of Vancouver, after 2.5 years, pass a motion saying that they would allow and support low barrier access to cannabis to address the overdose crisis. So that prompted us to meet with the city, come to an agreement that we would find a storefront and start providing low barrier access. And we did that. We found a really nice little storefront just over here, and for 4.5 months we did that. But we couldn't get a license from the city. They wouldn't issue us one until we got permission from Ottawa. Ottawa, even though we sent a very comprehensive application to get a license to be able to do what we're doing and to have our suppliers licensed, that went along with an emergency request for a temporary ministerial exemption so that we could continue what we're doing without harassment or problem. But that's been over 2.5 months ago now. We have gotten no response from the federal government other than they acknowledged that they had our request 2.5 months ago, 2 days after we put it in. They said they would try to process it in a timely manner. We certainly made them aware that there was a court date looming where we were facing eviction because our landlord, who'd been threatened by the city, who didn't want to evict us, felt that he had no choice and delayed as long as he could, but eventually took us to court. That court case came and went with us being evicted and given 7 days to vacate. We also then notified Ottawa, Mr. Seguin and Patty Haydu's office that that was going on, and that perhaps if they could provide that temporary ministerial exemption before that 7-day period expired, maybe we could stay in our storefront. But again, they stayed silent, and so I procured this RV, and we've been operating out of this RV for the last 4 weeks. However, unfortunately, the VPD saw fit to come and raid us, to not allow me to explain who we were, what we've been doing, show any of the letters of support that we have from Professor Malloy, from city councillors, from Professor Zachary Walsh and other people. They came and went within about 15 minutes, threatened me to take the vehicle away or have it impounded. They seized most of what we had that we were helping people with. And I went straight from there to the police station, tried to talk to a senior officer, didn't get any luck with that. Came back and we reopened, and we've been open ever since. We also were threatened by a senior parking person on behalf of the VPD, said we couldn't park anywhere in this block that we've been parked in for the last 4 weeks. That prompted me to write a letter to the Deputy Chief, Steve Ray. That got him involved in sending out letters to the different department heads about our situation. That resulted in them calling me and telling me what their decision was this past Wednesday. So here's the new update for those who have been following along in the saga of the quest for a community cannabis store with low barrier access. As we left you last week, we had been being left alone by the parking people and by the VPD. We suspected and we had been told that the VPD were discussing our matter at the higher levels. And so on Wednesday in the evening, I got a call from Candace Murphy. She says she's the officer in charge of 21 different beat cops here on the downtown east side. She said, I've been given your file, what's going on? So we had quite a long talk where I explained ourselves and our whole journey through what I've just explained to you, to getting the store, to being evicted, to being in the RV, to being raided. I made it really, really clear to her during that half-hour conversation that, you know, the experts had agreed, they had weighed in, it was in black and white, written down in their letters of support, that there's hundreds of people that are going to be put back into the poison drug supply if we stop doing our program. We have over 250 people that get 420 milligrams of high-dose edibles every 4 days, and they've been doing that for a long time. And if we were to all of a sudden not be here, not be able to help them, they wouldn't know what else to do but to go back and talk to the guy on the corner about what he might have for their issues. And many of these people would likely overdose and die if we are not here to support them. So I made that as clear as I could to Candace Murphy. She said that she sympathized, that they hoped that we would be able to succeed with Health Canada and the federal government. But the bottom line for her is that we had to stop doing what we were doing, and that we certainly were not allowed to sell any cannabis anymore. We'd been providing low barrier access, so cannabis from $6 a gram down to $1 a gram, and prices as low as we can get them, trying to make it affordable for people who have barriers of poverty, and also making it easy for people to access. That she said we had to stop doing that. I tried to explain that, you know, these are people who are not going to sign up with a program. We've got almost 2,000 members that we have accumulated in just under 5 months that need to have access to cannabis for whatever issues they're dealing with, and in many cases they're dealing with substance misuse, with the opioid misuse syndrome. And they don't want to be identified. They don't want to come forward and say, hey, I'm part of a program, to get off of these hard drugs. They need anonymity. They need to be able to come to a place discreetly, get what they need, and go back and try to deal with their issues. So it's really unconscionable that Candace Murphy and the VPD would decide that we have to stop providing this option for people here on the downtown east side, that we need to have some piece of paper with a signature on it from one of these public servants somewhere, and that until we have that, well, we just have to stop. So I informed her that there's no way we're going to stop, that we couldn't stop in all good conscience. She said, you've been told at this time of this day by the VPD that you must stop doing what you're doing. And I said, well, bring it on. If you need to come and arrest me, then go ahead and arrest me. I know that other people will follow in my footsteps. We have many, many good supporters and volunteers, and we are quite a team of people. And we'll just keep coming up with more vehicles and more people to get arrested until we succeed, because we're going to succeed, not them. Of course, any day now, we should be getting our approval from the federal government. You would think that Patty Haydu and her office would quite quickly put together a ministerial exemption for us. We've been demonstrating the safety and efficacy of our program of giving away high-dose cannabis edibles along with unregulated cannabis flower for almost 4 years now. We have harmed no one. It is ludicrous that the Vancouver police would say in their release that their actions against us were because they're concerned with public safety because we're using unregulated cannabis. We have not had a problem with our program in almost 4 years of handing out unregulated cannabis. There have never been any problems anywhere in the world because of unregulated cannabis of any significance. There have been billions and billions of doses of cannabis taken, trillions, I'm sure, billions probably just in the last week globally. And there are no issues of people being harmed by ingesting cannabis or by consuming cannabis vapors or by eating cannabis edibles, other than you can eat too much and then you don't feel good for a few days. But no significant health issues, no significant problems of any sort. Nothing that the VPD should be concerned about in an area where people have open sores all over their legs and arms, that don't have proper foot coverings in the winter time, that are suffering from all kinds of different medical issues and mental health issues, and not only that, trying to deal with their issues with a poisoned drug supply that's been going on for over 5 years. We've doubled this year the amount of people that are dying from this poisoned drug supply, and it's way more than people are dying from COVID, yet we hear nothing from our government, and they're going to shut down a program that's offering this this safe option for people who are in a very unsafe world and situation at this point, and they have the gall to say that what they're doing is in the name of public safety. Oh my God, that's the last thing that their actions are doing, is providing any level of public safety. We're the ones who are providing public safety with a safe option for people. The police are just jealous because we're doing their jobs that they should be doing, that they're not even allowed to do because of corruption within our government that goes right to the top of our country here. This is what's going on. This is why these police are doing what they're doing. They come here and rate us and apologize for what they're doing. They feel bad about it. I had a conversation with an officer just today, because that's what I do. As soon as I see him, there was a death just down the street. It must have been more than an overdose, because they spent hours here with the coroner and all the rest of it. But I went and talked to the officer that was there, because that opportunity was provided, and we had a really positive talk about what our program is and how it's helping people. But he said it's below his pay grade, so there's really nothing that he can do to help us. And same with the officer I spoke with just the other day up the street, who was so supportive of what we were doing, so wanted to have us succeed, told me not to stop, told me you must just be persistent. So here's a police officer in the face of us being told by the Vancouver Police Department to stop doing what we're doing, and he's recommending that we continue to do what we're doing and that we be persistent about it. So there is a really huge disconnect here going on with the police that are on the beat, the police that are in the higher levels, with what's going on in Ottawa and what's going on down here. These people making decisions about us, these people we're asking permission from, really don't have a clue. It shouldn't be up to them. They should come and ask us what the right thing to do is. They've never come down here. They've never come to see what we're doing. They don't ask us for the research that we've been doing with all of the people that we're helping. We've got reams, absolute stacks of information that we have gathered just in the last 6 months here that we're wanting to hand over to Health Canada or some level of government, or somebody who's going to take that information and go through it and process it and come to understand what is the right way to help these people that need help. So we're trying to provide all of that, and yet we're not able to do that because we don't have a piece of paper with a signature on it from some public servant somewhere. This story is just one of the most ludicrous stories that I've ever been involved with, that I could even ever imagine. It's always been that way. As soon as prohibition became something that I understood and decided, well, that's a logic-free topic. I mean, there's just no logic involved in trying to prohibit these substances. It doesn't work. It absolutely can't work. You're dealing with a population of people who are, leaning towards rebellious would be putting it mildly, because that's just how human beings are. They talk about the terrible twos and how rebellious those people are, and then we talk about, as you get to be a teenager, well, then you're going to just do whatever the opposite is of what your parents say. And we don't talk about it much, but I'll tell you, adult human beings don't like being told what to do either. We are very rebellious people just in nature, by spirit, because that's what has brought us this far in our evolution. And so when governments of public servants come along and say, well, you people can't have this plant. It's like God in the Garden of Eden saying, you can have anything you want in this garden except this one plant. Can't have this one plant. He said that to a couple of brand new human beings. Well, we all know what kids are like when you tell them they can't have a certain thing, but they could have everything else. They don't care about everything else. All they care about is what they can't have. So for our governments to be prohibiting natural plant medicines just increases the demand for those things. In the case of cannabis, that's just fine, because cannabis is a wonderful substance that helps people in many, many, many ways, supplements our endocannabinoid system, is a conduit to spiritual bliss, all sorts of other wonderful things that cannabis does for us. But some of these other plant medicines that have, dangerous overdose potentials and things like that, especially when opium is concentrated and turned into heroin, and then that's concentrated even more and turned into fentanyl, and that's concentrated even more and turned into carfentanil. All of these things can be very, very dangerous. And when your government tells you you can't have them, Well, there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be interested in that just because they can't have it. I'm telling you, if you put a bucket of crack cocaine on the sidewalk there, and you put a sign and you said, hey everybody, this is crack cocaine. It's very addictive. You can die of an overdose. It could be tainted with fentanyl, but go ahead, help yourself. Nobody's touching that. People are walking on the other side of the street to stay away from that. But put a sign up there and say, hey, this is fentanyl. It could be really dangerous. You could die, but you can't have it, or crack cocaine and it could have fentanyl. All these. Then you got people going over and taking some. You got people looking around to see if anybody's watching. You got people very interested in that bucket of crack cocaine only because they're told that they can't have it. And maybe a little bit because they're told it's dangerous too. That's another thing that our governments have issues with, is telling people things are dangerous. You tell young people things are dangerous, that's what they're going for. So anyway, we got a big disconnect going on between what's reality and what our government thinks is reality, and what freedom is, and what we're being offered in the name of freedom by these public servants who have just absolutely seized control over us. We really need to sit down and rethink what it is that these people are in charge of, and what we want in the way of public servants that we pay money to. Because I'm really not happy having a 4-year rotating dictatorship that I get to vote for, where my rights are completely trampled on every step of the way, and the only real concern of the public servants that get voted into office are how they can satisfy their corporate masters, how they can line their own pockets and the pockets of their friends, and how they can just bleed the system as best they can during the 4 years that they get to be in office, with very little chance that they're going to be taken to task for the corruption that they're involved with, because our system is just so full of loopholes for these people. They've been taking advantage of it and creating even bigger loopholes every step of the way for 100 years or more here. So we really need to sit down and rethink what we want from these people. And here's the best example going on that I can think of, and that is that there's this plant in nature that is very beneficial to people, and yet our governments have been involved in a conspiracy to prohibit the access to that plant for all of these years through lies and deceit, and using tax dollars and police resources and the criminal law to stop people from accessing cannabis. And that is one of the bigger crimes against humanity. But bigger than that, it's one of the main ways that we can really see just how corrupt our system is, and we can expose the corruption that's going on. Because here we are now, it's 2020. We're just trying to provide this natural medicine to people because it really works to get them through withdrawal and off of these hard, dangerous drugs. And that's all we're trying to do. We've been doing it for almost 4 years. We've had no problems in doing that. But for us to get that piece of paper with a signature on it with some sort of government approval, that seems to be very, very difficult. And without that, it seems like the courts and the police and even the mainstream media are not going to be on our side. So this is a very corrupt world we're living in. This is evidenced by what's happening in our situation here now. We're sitting here every day wondering whether we're going to get charged and arrested and the VPD are going to come and seize our vehicle. And this is no way for us to be having to live, that we have these threats looming above us. We've already taken a huge hit by what the VPD took from us a couple of weeks ago. Our ability to help people has been reduced to way less than half. And all of this is just because of government corruption. We've been leading the way. We've been showing how cannabis can help people. We get people coming up to our RV all day long, thanking us for being here, telling us how much they appreciate the option that we're providing for them, telling us to stand strong and to continue to help them as best we can. And it warms our hearts to hear all of that because of how much good we're doing. But it's really frustrating when we understand that we're doing this in the face of a very corrupt government, that on behalf of a bunch of greedy corporate bastards, big pharma and the rest of it, that they're going to try to keep us from helping these people down here. They're going to try to just maintain what's going on down here. It's really sad to say, but there is a whole bunch of groups that are invested in the problems that are going on down here on the downtown east side, and they are being remunerated greatly for what they're doing But solving the problem would simply take away that gravy train that they've been riding on for a long time. There's a lot of groups down here that are really invested in maintaining what's happening down here. And when we come along and we offer a real service, and we're actually able to rescue people from the serious problems that they have with poverty and addiction and mental illness and the rest of it, when we're having the kind of success that we're having with hundreds and hundreds of people now since our program started that have gotten themselves into a much better place because of us, when that's not something that's embraced and encouraged and supported and allowed to expand, when that's something that's being stifled, not reported on, harassed, and attempted to be shut down, then there's something really, really wrong in our world, and we all need to wake up and do something about it. So, that's my message to everybody watching this, and there we have the 4:19 minutes, so kind of got that going on at the right time. If you got something to roll up, well, now's a good time, because we always like to celebrate the 4:20 minute with some magical herbal vapors from our favorite cannabis plants and strains. So do that. But in the meantime, also think about, who can you call? Who can you write a letter to? What media outlet can you contact? How can you further the interests of us as people to get limited, accountable, transparent public servants that are accountable to us for what they do, that are transparent so that we can watch what they're doing at any time, and that they're limited in their powers so that they could never again make a natural plant prohibited and bring with it all the problems that happen when you try to do that. And they are so numerous that we could do a whole show on the consequences of prohibition with respect to gangs, with respect to the denial of medicine for people that are suffering and dying, and on it goes, ruining people's lives because they have a plant, lying to people, lying to children, separating families, using so much of our precious tax dollars, diverting police resources from other things that they could be otherwise involved with that would make our society much safer. All of these things that are all brought on by prohibition and all just because of corrupt governments. So let's start doing something about that. Pick your person to bug and write a letter, make a phone call. Do something, and let's see if we can't turn this around for the generations to come. So 4:20 means that I'm not alone anymore in my little studio here of the RV, that Glenn's here to join us, because 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca is my regular guest at the 4:20 moment.
And I love being your regular guest.
I love having you, man. I got something here.
You do?
I think so.
You brought something today.
Oh, no.
Wow.
It's not in there.
Tell people about our GoFundMe.
All right, so we got a GoFundMe for the whole thing. What's going on here?
We're doing tubes and Doobs Vancouver for the CSP program, so you guys will provide the Doobs, and we're raising money to provide tube socks for the downtown east side. So we're going to give it away down here on December the 22nd, which is a Tuesday, 3 days before Christmas.
Yep.
And we've got 3 weeks to prepare. The link is on my page. Go to Glenn Wells on Facebook. It's public. You can find it. It's also in a bunch of the groups. Neil here from Cannabis Culture also has a link. He'll post it in the comments later on.
Yeah, comments on the show notes at pop.tv, so you can find it anytime and get some socks or a doobie.
Yeah, then these people down here, you can just give a good shot of the streets. This is what we're providing people for. There's lots of people in the alleyways and stuff like that. And I heard on the news, 5 people die a day down here from the fentanyl poisoning. Right, so we can make somebody's life a little bit better. Maybe only have 4 people die or something.
We hear about it every day. I saw. A fellow was here yesterday showing me pictures of 2 people that he found deceased, 2 separate incidents, all in the same day, where he found them in public bathrooms down here, deceased.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we lost one of our volunteers from Vandu, a young fellow named Kiefer, that came and helped us sometimes at Vandu, and he was found dead because of fentanyl, smoking heroin in the tinfoil the way they do
Chasing the dragon, they call that.
Yeah, it's just horrible. That's the way that most of them are dying down here, is by using the heroin in the tinfoil and smoking it, and then because it's got fentanyl in there, it stops the lungs from functioning and kills people. It's extremely sad.
Yeah.
And not only that, we have people. Well, there's none now. So
What?
our sidewalk is clear.
Yes, but if
But-
you just look down that alleyway, it's not so clear. And if you
Same,
look
yeah,
at that
e-
alleyway, it's not so clear.
Either way.
Right? We're a little bit sheltered here because we're around the corner, but it's
We
very,
had 3 people that were all sprawled out on the sidewalks today.
Yeah.
The one fella wasn't moving for a while. I had to go make sure he was okay.
And somebody
It's
died
a bit,
in the building
it's
here.
a bit overwhelming and very difficult to be working like this and seeing all of this. It does, give us some balance because we know that we're helping and people are thanking us every day and telling us how we're helping them. But it is, it's a war zone and there's a lot of casualties. There's a lot of sirens going on a lot of times. There's a lot of sirens and there's not many fires. We have a lot of fire trucks pulling out of the station,
Ambulance.
but not many fires.
Yeah. And maybe we could get John Murray to do a little bit of turkey on the 22nd.
I'm
too.
sure he will.
Well, I haven't asked him yet, but I just did now. Because I know he's
I'm
watching
sure.
as he texts me.
John, he's on it.
That would be great.
He's actually in the chat, and he posted the link to the GoFundMe in
Oh,
the chat.
thank you very
All
much,
right,
John.
there you go,
There you
John,
go.
yeah.
I know he was there, and I didn't ask him.
John's
I was texting.
on it. He
He's a
never
champion.
misses any of that kind of stuff.
that'd be
I'm
great.
sure he'll
We
have
could
some turkey
Doobs,
stuff.
And this is all thanks to Sterling R. Wild in Saskatoon. He's the one who started doing this in Saskatoon. I think it's 4 years ago. He's given us, sort of his goodwill or whatever. What is it when you ask?
Blessing.
Yeah,
His blessings.
His
He gave us
blessings.
his blessing
that's
to
it.
do
His
this.
blessings to do this here in Vancouver.
Well, I think it's an extension of what he's doing.
Yeah,
This
and it's a much bigger crowd down here too than in Saskatoon. But
Yeah,
if
he's
you guys
inspired
have
a
seen-
really cool thing going
Yeah,
on.
they had pots of food and tables and people with masks on and stuff like that, doing it all very socially responsible. And
Yeah.
it made it in the news and stuff like that. And maybe that day we'll get in the news.
Maybe.
And that's what you need, some positive stuff of what we're doing. So if you happen to be a reporter or know a reporter, let them know what we're doing December 22nd down here.
We have had some good stories written about the plight of our particular project here. But for the most part, the mainstream media has been ignoring us.
Yeah.
We've been sending out press releases as to what's
Because
happening.
it's not negative enough.
And,
maybe
it'll
They're
take
also tied up with the LPs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because there's a lot of corruption and it goes right into the mainstream media, and they don't want us to succeed. I can imagine the LPs don't want us to succeed. I don't think we're much competition for them. They've got their own little market there.
Yeah.
But poor people need to have access to cannabis too. Good cannabis at good prices needs to be something that poor people have access to, even without the whole epidemic of overdose deaths. But certainly with the epidemic of overdose deaths, where cannabis is proven to be able to get people through withdrawal, it's the edibles, and then substitute the use of those other harder substances, that man, oh man, we should be able to do this, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should be able to.
We shouldn't be stuck out in an RV doing it either.
Not at all. I don't understand, like you don't understand why they're giving you such a hard time about saving people's lives.
I don't
It
either.
doesn't make sense.
It's all coming from the top, and it's got to be about protecting government stores.
Yeah.
That's all that it can be
But like
about.
you just said,
Because it
what are you
can't
gonna
be
do?
that they
What are you
want to
gonna
kill
do?
these people. It can't be that they literally want to, pull the tube and have them die. Because
Yeah.
that's what it is essentially happening. I get it that they don't really care about the people down here that are
they
poor
They
and
don't
addicted.
pay
I get that.
taxes or anything.
But
and
to be purposely trying to have them die, I just can't see that one. But I can understand where they want to make money, and where they're thinking that their money interests
what
are
are
being
they afraid
threatened.
of? That some homeless person's going to walk into an LP store and say, "Hey, do you want to give us free weed like Neil does?"
They're
Really,
afraid. They're afraid that a person with resources is going to become a member of our dispensary and be able to access cannabis for under $6 a gram. That's better than anybody else has for 15.
Yeah.
And better than what the government
But you're
stores
still
have.
not going to
Period.
get everybody that buys cannabis at your store, so there's still going to be lots of money.
I think there's
across
lots to go
Canada.
around.
Exactly.
And-
Exactly. Right.
And a community-based cannabis store in poor neighborhoods is something that really needs to happen.
it needs to happen,
And they
yes.
should get out of the way. They can sell to all the people that have lots of money who wouldn't come down to the downtown east side to the community-based cannabis store.
That store would
They'll
supply
still have
jobs.
their customers.
Right? They would supply jobs in their neighborhood, that store. Right?
Sure,
As
absolutely.
Staff, a manager, people packaging, people counting cash.
We had to cut our
security.
staff in half when we got kicked out of the store and into the RV. They really did harm people that were just trying to pay their rent and feed themselves.
Yeah.
By kicking us out here as well. So there's a lot of employment that happens with dispensaries. You know, probably a good 10, 15 people for every community-based cannabis store. You know, and a lot of times it's in those types of stores, what happened here would happen there. And that is that the people that would come and be the workers and the volunteers and the employees of these places are people that are trying to give back, that have had some, you know, a loss of a family member or something close, someone close to them because of the fentanyl crisis or things like that. And so you're really providing employment to a vulnerable group of people that really need it.
And then they can educate their families and stuff like that. It's just it's a good thing. That's all it's really a good thing. You know?
Well, you know, I'm calling on the federal government to prove us wrong.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the letter that the mayor writes covers your decriminalization covers cannabis. That they say the dangerous drugs. Well, they say cannabis is dangerous, isn't it? So it should be under that part, right? They can't go back on their word, right?
Well, they say that unregulated cannabis isn't safe.
Yes. So unregulated street drugs aren't safe either, because we got people dying 5 a day down here, right?
So let's have some regulated cannabis, but let's not do it through the LP system the way that it is right now. Because we can have locally sourced cannabis that doesn't have 4 layers of taxation on it,
or
that doesn't have to be irradiated,
chemicals.
that would be absolutely just what people need here. Price-wise and quality-wise.
Yep, I totally agree. I've seen it. I've been doing this for a year, but not down here for a whole year. But now I've seen a lot of difference that you've made, and it's amazing. It's so sad that they don't want you to do it.
It is very sad. It's really, really disgusting. But, you know, I still think we're going to win.
Yeah.
I still think that...
well, like you said, be persistent. Don't give up, right?
We have a lot of people now that are reaching out to the federal health minister, Patty Haydu, hopefully putting pressure on her to give us that ministerial exemption. It's just a temporary exemption. That's all we're asking for. Take the time that you need to figure out how to license us. We would like to have conversations about regulations to make sure that they're justified. If those regulations are going to increase the prices that we have to charge people, or going to compromise the quality or the amount of different products that we're able to give people. High dose edibles are absolutely 100% required. Good quality, concentrates are also something. I mean, the edibles get people through withdrawal, but many times people that have gone through withdrawal that are now just going to now substitute the hard drugs for some cannabis, they don't need to have edibles. They can do it with concentrates. Many people can dab, and it works just fine. But to get through withdrawal, it's really an edible sort of a job. So all those things need to be easily available, and we want regulations that allow us to provide those things at really affordable prices. There's no need for taxation when you're dealing with a poverty-stricken population. That the government doesn't need to make a cut on the cannabis that we're providing to help people better their lives, get off of dangerous drugs, all of those things. These are benefits to our society. Taxes should be put onto things that have a detriment to our society, that cost us money, and we need to recoup that money that is the result of whatever it is. But in the case of cannabis, when you're going to reduce the amount of alcohol that people use, for example, there was just a study released that shows that people that are using cannabis and drinking are drinking less because of their cannabis use. And I know there's programs where they're using cannabis to get people off of alcohol.
I was even doing less crack when I was smoking cannabis.
Well, and of course all those other drugs as well.
Yeah.
So, cannabis is a real benefit to people in our society.
It's definitely not what the government said it was. That it was bad.
The original reefer madness.
Debauchery.
White girls having sex with black guys.
Jazz music.
The whole thing, listening
falling
to
into trances, listening to jazz music and rock and roll music.
Neil, I wish somebody a Christmas miracle today, and that person, while I was driving here, got an email saying they got a job.
Nice.
They got a Christmas miracle. So I'm going to wish you a Christmas miracle that somebody comes during this month of December and says, Neil, you can continue to do what you want to do.
Here's your piece of paper with a signature on it.
Yes.
I'm thinking every day could be the day, except Saturdays and Sundays, which probably doesn't work.
I just know the wish worked once today, so I might as well try it again, right?
Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
And if you get 3 in a row, go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, well, I do play Grand for Life every week or something like that.
How's that working out for you?
I've only won $200, I think.
I see.
Yeah, lots of dollar wins. But one I won $100, and since I play a double ticket, I got $200.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, apparently you can't win if you don't play.
Exactly.
But,
and I don't buy the scratchies. I just have the subscription, and then that's it. That's
but I'm
I
told that, you know, when you're gambling, it's all about the odds.
Yeah, and it's also helping
And
other
the odds of
charities
winning
too.
big in like a lottery
Yeah.
are really, like,
It helps
our
wins.
national odds, is very, very slim. If there's only a small amount of people that are involved in the lottery, then you have a better chance of winning. But when there's millions of people buying tickets trying to get that one right number, the odds are really, really bad. So I'm not a gambler at all. I've talked about it on previous shows about my grandfather's influence.
I just do the
I
subscription
have
thing.
bought lottery tickets just
well,
when the amount is so crazy, but that doesn't
So you mean like
improve
60
the
million
odds at
that's
all.
going tonight?
Is that what's going on tonight?
60 million, max millions, yeah.
Yeah, when they're up high like that, then even more millions of people buy tickets, and the odds
Your
get
odds
even. They don't improve at all. I'm told if you're going to gamble, you should do it at the horse track.
Oh, yeah.
The odds are way better.
Yeah, probably.
Or,
Yeah,
or small community lotteries. And,
because now you're betting on a horse, not a computer.
They used to have them at the Canucks games where they would have the 50-50 draws within the stadium.
Yes.
But then they opened it up and put it online, and now once again millions of people get to buy those tickets.
Yeah,
and the odds
and somebody outside of the stadium wins most of the time, right? Yes.
Sure,
right?
because there's only 60,000 in the stadium, and there's millions out there.
60,000.
Yeah, there's millions out there. I mean, that's a global thing. You can buy
I think it's only a provincial thing.
I think you can buy the 50-50 tickets from anywhere in the world on the Canucks games.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, I think it's
Can they restrict it to a province?
I think it is because it's BC lottery.
No,
there's
but people
Ontario
outside of
Lottery
BC,
Commission.
people outside of BC can buy BC lottery tickets.
You know what? When I'm in Winnipeg, I cannot check my BCL page because I'm out of province.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's what makes me
I
think
didn't know. Like I
this.
said, I'm not much of a gambler. So.
Well, I get the you won something. I go look at the dollar, right? But if I'm outside of BC, I cannot look at the page. It knows.
I see.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's what makes me think
Did
that.
Jerry Martin show up? Has anybody seen Jerry?
Oh, Jerry
He's not
here?
waiting out in the wings?
Jerry.
I think we're just going to have to, you and I, wing it for a little while.
I think we've done that before.
We have done that before. So tell me about CannaMatch.ca then.
Well, we're up to, that's still 4,200 people.
I see.
It's growing. I hope that it'll grow more in December because there's a lot more lonely people during the Christmas time and New Year's and that.
So COVID probably gave you guys a boost.
It could have, yes. If I would have had some money to be able to do an advertisement for it and stuff like that, yes, probably would have been a lot.
Yeah, I don't
better
see
than
any
what it's-
advertisements for CannaMatch.
No, well, I do have pictures that I put up occasionally, but you're not allowed to promote a lot of stuff in groups and stuff like that, so it's kind of hard to do that. And Facebook won't let me post or promote CannaMatch because I have a couples column, and they think that it's sex. I only have couples column because they can reach out to other couples when they travel to a cannabis-friendly place. So let's say you're from San Francisco and somebody from Vancouver comes there, they can reach out to somebody who's on the site in San Francisco and say, hey, where do we get good meds? Without having to go to the corner and buy it off some guy or some shady person, right? So that's why we have a couple section. And vice versa. They could come from San Francisco, see you on my website in Vancouver, and now it's a couple meeting another couple, so you may even make friends and you smoke pot, and that always happens usually when you're smoking pot together. So now you've got made a friend from the States.
So what if people are having sex?
Yeah, well,
so what?
Like promoting,
seriously,
promoting
Facebook.
a couple section
Facebook,
on a
don't you get
dating
it?
site
People
is
have
not
sex.
allowed,
Facebook is where you meet people and then lots of times have sex or sometimes have sex.
It's not just a sex site. It's
Oh
for
my
meeting
God, I
people who
can't
smoke
believe that
pot
they'd be
too,
worried
yes.
about that. I mean, maybe if you're selling sex, maybe if you've got some white slavery going on or something like that going on. But
Not that I know of there. I haven't had any complaints yet.
Facebook drives me nuts. They've pulled 3 of my posts. You know, we were 3.5 years at Van Duke.
Yep.
The last 2.5 years, twice a week. Every time we went to Van Duke, I posted a picture of what we had donated and gave a little blurb about thank you to all these people that donated. Well, now over the last 10 days, Facebook has pulled 3 of those, like one, and then a couple days later another one, and then a few days later another one, and telling me that, put some new batteries in those, if you don't mind, grab a couple of the duller ones and put in some new batteries, and we'll light the studio up a little bit here. And so anyway, they come up and say, this goes against our community standards to show a picture of cannabis edibles on a table with a thank you to the donators, apparently. So then you get the opportunity to to agree or disagree.
Yeah.
So I disagree that that's against community standards. Holy smokes! I mean, if you really understood this community and what the standards are, and what we're doing, that would not go against community standards. But all 3 times they've agreed with me.
Oh, really?
Yep. They come back and say, "Okay, we reviewed it, and you're right." So we'll see if they pull any
next
more.
time I'll disagree then. Whenever I see that, I get worried because I just got banned for 7 days for a mistake that they made, but they never released the ban.
Yeah.
And now I can't even go live for another 22 more days.
Wow.
Right? I can't do it.
And that was from a silly cartoon
that was a cartoon. I wasn't
posted.
even doing a live, but yet I'm banned on 30 days from doing lives and stuff like that. Wow. So I'm going to have to hold off on the Jerry Martin thing right now, but by the time the ban is over, we'll be able to do something for a New Year's resolution in order to start microdosing and make yourself healthier, sort of thing. Yes.
This giveaway that we've been talking about over the last number of weeks has to now be put on hold because of Facebook.
Yep.
So
22 more days. Yeah.
Oh man. At least they're going to let you out of Facebook jail just in time for Christmas.
Yes, all 3 days. Actually, it'll be on the day that we do the socks and stuff. So that'll be perfect. So.
Wow.
I'm just gonna, be really good, not post any Pinocchio pictures or anything.
Oh man. That's just insane that we got these moral authorities over us. In the social media platform.
Yeah, it sucks.
I understand some. Oversight with respect to things that are violent.
Yes.
Or
someone who's using needles on video and on live, that would be a little bit.
Yeah, there are things that would cross lines for sure, but when they're doing this stuff, I mean, pulling up my posts, that's just insane.
Yeah, I got the same thing while I was on 7 days. I had one that had some bud in it. Hey, he made it.
He made it.
Yeah.
So you can take that with you and give it to Sal maybe or something like that.
Sure, I can. Yeah, I can do that.
One of you guys, and then we'll let Jerry in.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to say?
No, we'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, and we'll share out that
Stay
link.
safe. Stay sane.
Please give to the GoFundMe, and that would be great.
All right, we'll be putting those links up all over the place.
I'll bring this to Sal.
We're trying to get some socks and some doobs and some tubes to people that need it. So. This is the Martin Medical Moment segment of the program, and we've been talking since the beginning of the show over a year ago now about what's been going on with Jerry Martin. Jerry Martin was a dispensary owner in Whitewood, Saskatchewan. He decided to give back to his community after having been involved in a life of substance misuse and things like that, and he had the ability to help his small community out in Saskatchewan. He had some people suggest that he do that, and so he put together a dispensary, and for 4 years he was providing medical cannabis to people that needed it, and he was doing it with the idea in mind that he would be grandfathered in when legalization happened. He was doing it with all the right protocols in place to make sure that people had a doctor's note to confirm a diagnosis, and that's why they were using cannabis. And yet, when legalization came in, part of that was to wipe out all the medical dispensaries because that would be competition for the government non-medical stores. Believe it or not, the medical patients of Canada are the ones that are left out of this whole legalization scheme. For even just regular users of cannabis, it's a really cruel joke how legalization has unfolded with these corporate insiders providing cannabis grown on scale, irradiated and chemically treated to kill microbes, and then overpackaged and overpriced, and all the rest of that is an absolute cruel joke on the cannabis community that's been perpetrated by these former prohibitionists. But for those people that are medical users, the real daily users that use it for serious medical needs, for them it's an absolute nightmare what legalization has resulted in. And for them, they had, after a long fought battle across Canada in different communities, we did have established some medical marijuana dispensaries, and Jerry Martin had one of those going in Whitewood, Saskatchewan. But as I said, legalization came in, more resources put out towards law enforcement to shut these places down. Jerry was arrested and had his properties seized, and he's been on a battle ever since then. Now it's over 4 years since that happened, and he's still looking for his first day in court to actually talk to a judge about all of this stuff. And Jerry is so gracious with his time to come and talk to us about his up and down journey over the years, and he's with us here again today in the Healing Wave RV. Hey, Jerry.
How's it going?
Going all right. How are you doing?
Good. Good.
It's cold out there.
It is.
Yeah,
Got
got the
'em in
parka
there.
on. Yeah, I got 4 layers of shirts and 2 coats.
Yeah.
And so, what's been going on with you? Anything new?
Same. Well, I'm going to do Iboga in like 2 days.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
So
if
you've
it's
been doing
fun. I'm going.
you've had a fair experience with some of these hallucinogens that are really
Yeah.
profound, right?
Yeah, lots of them. Yeah.
And it's really helped. You found a lot of good stuff in that.
Yeah. Life just keeps getting better every time I take some.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Because you were really on quite the roller coaster of emotions when they took away your dispensary and seized all your stuff and threatened you with jail time and
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, that would be hard for anybody to
Yeah.
take, let alone a guy that's a little high strung and a little emotional like yourself.
Yeah.
And we witnessed a lot of that in your journey. So I'm really happy that things are working out, better for you in your own personal ability to feel good about life in general. And you've got other good things going on. You've got a court date now for what are we? April 24th
Yeah, I
to
was thinking
28th.
about that today. Yeah, it's coming up.
So and you're in a collaboration with some other dispensary people
Yeah.
that are also seeking a constitutional challenge about the lack of access.
Correct.
Because people that have lots of barriers can't access the government system, and they need storefronts and they need easy access at the storefront. So that's all great. But the hallucinogen thing side of things for you, it's also an ongoing thing in the world right now. This explosion of understanding of how beneficial the psychedelics can be, the mushrooms and LSD and other things, iboga and ayahuasca,
Yeah,
and,
mescaline, all kinds of
and MDMA and many
Yeah,
of these
all
things,
that one.
how they help with depression and anxiety and addiction and pain and all of these things. So you're right at the forefront of that now because you've assembled this team, and you tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've created a company called MindTech Therapeutics. We're going to develop and research psychedelic drugs, basically.
Nice.
Our ultimate goal is to take the government to court with that evidence and research to try and change the laws around psychedelics.
So what are the laws around psychedelics?
Well, they're illegal right now.
Right.
I believe Vancouver did some kind of decriminalization thing.
Well, they've passed a motion to lobby the federal government
Right.
to decriminalize possession of drugs.
Yeah. So I guess we're at the federal level now, waiting for that.
Yeah,
but it's moving
that
forward.
can take a while,
Yeah.
and that may or may not happen.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
well, I would guess they turned down that decriminalized nature based on evidence, lack of evidence or safety. So yeah, I saw that was disappointing the other day.
It's really
So
crazy.
it's going to take all these companies out there doing research right now, developing new drugs and testing them, making sure they're safe, and showing the efficacy and
Do you
the
think we're gonna
benefits
get
from these drugs.
Do you think we're going to get the same kind of legalization with those that we've gotten with cannabis? I mean, that's something what they're going to try to
Unfortunately,
do.
most likely, it's probably the way it's going to roll.
So tightly controlled,
yeah.
artificially high prices.
Yeah, I'd like to see that a little different with things that are like mushrooms and stuff. But I think probably at first it's probably going to end up being the same way. But everybody's going to grow mushrooms.
Yeah.
Right, so, but I mean, there's lots of other drugs out there that just can't be, or sometimes shouldn't be synthesized at home, and they need to be done in a safe setting. So
Agreed.
Yeah. So 5-MeO, DMT, is definitely one of those people shouldn't just try on their own at home.
There's a role to play for government within that stuff, like for so many things where there is some danger involved with stuff, that the government needs to play a role in things like that with regulations that make sense. But people get to have gasoline, and pesticides and fireworks, although it depends what city you live in with respect to fireworks.
Yeah.
But so many of the things in our environment are inherently dangerous, but that doesn't mean you can't have them. That just means that the government needs to make sure that you're properly educated and the proper safeguards are put on there that make sense. But with respect to the regulations for cannabis, I mean, they're regulating this stuff like it was some sort of a contagious, explosive, horrible thing. And it's absolutely none of that. One of the safest therapeutically active compounds.
So are a lot of
known
the
to man.
psychedelics. In fact,
And so are all the
psychedelics are even
psychedelics.
safer than cannabis on the chart, I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah,
And-
LSD and mushrooms would be right down at the bottom of cannabis for sure.
I see.
Yeah.
Because and what
The
are they saying?
dosage is lower and less recreational.
Yeah. Just there's no
Yeah,
harm.
there's been a long track record of all of these things. There was all the fear mongering that went along when I was growing up, 50s and 60s, you know, about LSD and those sorts of things and just how dangerous they were. But the truth of the matter is, after all these years, we find out that, well, nobody's overdosing on LSD. And a lot of people are saying that, you know, in the right setting and the right dosage, it's been very, very, very beneficial for them.
Yeah.
So
Even
who
at
is the
super high
government?
doses.
And some people at super high doses, for sure. Same with cannabis edibles and lots of things. Some people can take really, really high dosage and benefit from that. So who's the government to be, you know, in there saying, no, you can't? Well, I mean, we're talking about people that are in serious trouble in many cases, that have depression or anxiety or addiction. And if there's a way out for them with respect to psychedelics and stuff, well, who are the government to say? I mean, what kind of a system have we evolved here? You know, it drives me a little nuts. I mean, everybody knows that's what the show's all about, right?
Yeah.
That these public servants have evolved into these public tyrants. Seriously, they got so much power. We have people coming and talking to us here about the situations that they're in. And you wouldn't believe some of the stories about how the government has stripped people of their rights. They'll decide that you're a drug user, for example.
Oh, I have been through that.
And now you're not going to get the services in the hospital that you would otherwise get.
Oh, I've been through that.
There's so much stigmatization and discrimination as a result of these things. And in lots of cases, you know, these are people that were just put on to prescription drugs by their doctors because of things that happened to them, traumas or health issues. And now they're in trouble, they're in pain, and they're being cut right back because everybody's, you know, you got to cut, you know, make sure doctors aren't prescribing too much. But in many cases, not prescribing too much means that many people aren't getting what they need.
Well, what they
have
need to do is start
pain.
covering iboga for these people.
Right. Have you done it before?
No.
I see.
No.
What are you expecting?
It's a serious drug. I don't know.
So what are you expecting?
I'm going for a couple of reasons. You know, some of my own traumas. I'm going to try and quit smoking. Can't drink any caffeine. As you notice, I don't have tea today. Had to prepare.
You've put a lot of money into Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, actually, you know, I bought a kettle.
Oh yeah? You're making your own now?
I make my own tea. And I
Beautiful.
put out the sugar. Now I'm doing the honey.
Nice.
Yeah. For most
Although honey is also sugar that is,
is.
you know, not. I struggle with sugar a lot. Got a sweet tooth, and I'm still fighting it. I don't know. It's going to kill me probably. I have no idea. But yeah, I have trouble with honey, or not with honey, but with sugar.
Yeah. I'm going to cure assholes.
Honey's got to be better than white refined sugar, doesn't it? Honey's got to be better. Got to be better than white refined sugar. Got to be way better.
Yeah.
It's probably the white refined sugar people that put that out there, that
They
honey's
say
not
that-
much better because they want you just having their sugar,
You want your local honey from your local environment.
right? And do bees make honey out of weed? I've heard that before.
Yeah.
That,
Well, yeah.
And would that weed have?
I sold a lot of weed
cannabinoids?
honey in my day.
Yeah, but that's
pretty good,
infused
yeah.
honey.
Yeah.
But what about if the bees actually?
You
just,
know, I've seen something on that.
I've seen
you know,
stories
yeah.
about that. I don't know if it's
I
true
don't know
or
how
not.
it works or whatever, but they're definitely just pollen in there, so they're using the pollen.
Would there be cannabinoids? I don't know.
I don't know.
And would those cannabinoids be active? Like THC, of course, you have to decarboxylate it,
Good
right?
news is, after of like end of next week, after I'm done my iboga with if we get this new lab deal, they've already got an LD for testing cannabis.
Right.
We're doing cannabis projects, and then we've already applied for the LSD.
So when you say LD, what do you mean you have an LD?
Licensed dealer.
A licensed dealer.
Yeah, so you can not to sell.
Right? But to do research?
Do research, and develop drugs and things like that. So we'll be doing that for other companies as well as creating our own.
Nice.
So we've found a way to create a viable income while we're doing the...
That's important.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of people on the payroll now.
Yeah, dude.
Those people don't come cheap.
No, dude.
So,
I need to make more money fast.
I'm sure you'll figure out how to do that for sure.
I'm pretty resourceful.
Yeah, and you got a lot of good people. When you got a lot of good people on the payroll, ideally they're going to make money.
Well, we're at the point now is once we've signed the license, with the licensed dealer, and we get our own lab, our company evaluation is going to shoot through the roof.
Right.
And then we're at the point where we can go ask for $5 or $10 million to do research. Right. So,
Very, very cool. Yeah, and good people, they make money. You know,
Yeah.
if you got good people on your team,
Yeah.
each one of them generates more than they cost. You know, that's the whole idea.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Except for the lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even
I'm kidding.
Even they're working out a deal with us. So
lawyers can save you lots of money.
They'll have a little
sure.
equity in the company as well.
Yeah.
So which is good.
Lawyers are
Because they're
very
going to want to
important.
fight for their equity. So yeah.
Very, very interesting times for sure. Eh? Dr. Phil on his show today was saying that.
Still alive?
I don't know.
I haven't seen my dad love that guy. How about Dr. Phil 1 year?
He's saying that even casual use of cannabis results in brain abnormalities.
Oh, no.
Went on to say you have trouble putting 2 or 3 sentences together.
Really?
Can't listen properly to people. Problems with problem solving.
What did he take though? His shit's okay.
All this
right?
stuff
Whatever
is
it is.
absolute bullshit.
Wasn't he hooked on something for a while there?
Probably. I mean, you would think. I mean, as a celebrity, I don't want to speculate. I mean, I'm not here to judge like he's here to judge.
Oh,
apparently.
he's a judger, that guy.
My God.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, the whole thing. I mean, Neil looked into some of the studies that he was using and the people involved, and it's just garbage for sure. But to say that people using cannabis can't string 2 or 3 sentences together, I mean, give me a break. I'm coming up to 50 years. In a couple of years, it'll be 50 years since I've been a chronic cannabis consumer. And I think I can string a couple of sentences together. I think I'm pretty good at
sing a whole
problem
song,
solving.
I've heard you.
I can sing a whole song.
65 episodes.
Yeah. I don't get to sing that song.
many already?
I don't get to sing my song anymore, you know? I'm sad about that. I used to do it all the time, and now I'm looking for excuses. I haven't found one. You know, one of these days I'll burst out into song right in the middle of a show or something. But cannabis. You know, maybe I should stop now. Maybe I should never do another one, because you know, I got to do to open the show for Cypress Hill. You know, 120,000 people, plus all the media, you know, beamed around the world. And I got to do cannabis to that. So maybe I should quit at that moment, because I'm not sure I ever get to have anything better than that go on. But I've enjoyed singing that over the years. But it's just crazy that, you know, they would say that, you know, not good problem solvers. One of the things the cannabis community prides themselves on is being able to figure out problems. Like we always do. We've been up against the hugest of odds in trying to get freedom for ourselves and legalize, you know, cannabis use and growing and stuff. Immense odds. It's billions of dollars, more than that, you know, that these groups have in leverage. The pharmaceutical companies, the oil companies, those companies that cannabis would threaten. And yet, you know, just a handful of activists for the most part. When I came on the scene 20 years ago, there wasn't but a handful of activists that were doing anything all across Canada. Most of them were here in Vancouver. There was a few more in Toronto, and the odd one in little communities. One guy in Winnipeg, Johnny in Winnipeg. But that was about it. And yet, you know, we've been creative enough to be able to figure out how to educate the public and get the word out that these people are lying. Their products are dangerous. Cannabis is going to help you, and depending on what's going on in your life, it could save your life. We've done this with people that are smoking weed all day, every day. All of my activist friends in the pot community smoke weed all day, every day.
All day, every day.
You know, they're not just dabbers, they're globbers, you know. I mean, it's like, so yeah, Dr. Phil, you're full of shit.
Full of shit, Dr. Phil.
Full of shit. And, you know, perpetrating lies to protect pharmaceutical interests.
How much do they pay that guy a year? Like 10 million
He must
or
make
something?
a fair bit of money
pretty
doing
good.
what he's
That's
doing,
just-
eh?
yeah. That was a while ago.
But everybody serves somebody.
Yeah, I think they got a 10 million cap or something they're allowed to make now for talk shows.
Is there a cap on that?
Yeah.
Is there a
David
union?
Letterman or something brought that up. He says, I don't care. 10 million works for me.
10 million a year would work for just about anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I should renegotiate my contract with Pot TV.
Yeah.
See if I can get paid. I'm just really happy that I have, you know, the ability to have a platform to be able to further what really matters to me. These things drive me crazy. And if I didn't have an outlet where I felt like I was able to do something about it, I don't know what I would do. You know, I'd probably have to do heavy drugs or something. No,
Hope not.
I wouldn't do that. Crawl into a bottle, be depressed. I don't know, but, you know, the world is fucked. And all we want to do is be able to access good quality cannabis. Like, we want a store to walk into where there's really good cannabis, and you can buy expensive cannabis for $4 or $5 a gram. Holy shit, man, that's a lot of money for a fucking plant. But there's people out there that are putting large dollars into producing cannabis, and they're using a lot of hydro money. They're building big facilities. They've got equipment and fans and lights and fertilizers, and they're spending a lot of money, and they're growing it with love and with a lot of skill. They've been at it for a long time, so they can probably have a product that people would pay $5 or $6 a gram for in a pot store. But you should also be able to go in there and buy it right off right out of the pot. Like, just chop the plant down, you know, hang it up and dry it, and then bring it to market. So there's a bin there, and there's a whole bunch of conas on the top of branches, and you can take it home and you can trim it yourself. And yeah, the bulk bud barn. And for that, you should be able to buy it for, you know, I don't know, $40, $50 a pound would still seem like a ridiculously high price compared to the tomatoes and, you know, the other fruits and vegetables that we buy. But still, you know, there should be
tomatoes
options like
don't
that.
do quite the same thing that cannabis does for me. Especially.
I get that, but you know, there goes that side of the argument. This stuff is really fucking valuable. Like, a fucking joint, when you've just had your life crushed and some horrible thing has happened, and you can sit down on the side of the riverbank and smoke a joint and kind of gather your thoughts and breathe. You know, that's so valuable. It's like being in the desert and you find some water, you know what I mean? So people are willing to pay high prices. That's why prohibition, you know, $10 a gram and more, you know, a lot more than that in other places like up north and back east, and all these places paying super high prices for weed because of prohibition. But should it really alter the price of something just because it's valuable and can be used in valuable ways? Why would that change the price?
I think it should alter the price depending on the grower and the quality and
well, sure. But the price should be reflected in what it takes to bring it to market.
Right.
You know, to me, more than, you know, I get it. If you're going to be a grower and you're going to grow a sativa strain that's really unique, and that's going to help somebody with this particular issue in a way that nothing else can, and, you know, I'm sure there's all kinds of value in that. But the actual cost of growing a plant is the cost of growing a plant. And just because, you know, this plant with the same amount of effort grows you this plant, and this plant's got these little red things that you can put into soup and, you know, you can slice up on your sandwiches, and this one's got this amazing stuff.
The only way that would work is they would all have to be government run. Otherwise,
I think the marketplace decides.
Well, no one's going to want to put the time and effort into it if they can't make a profit, and, you know what I mean, be the one that does it. So it would have to be a government subsidiary of some kind.
But you know that there's farmers out there that are growing lettuce. They're growing carrots and strawberries and tomatoes. It's a seasonal thing. I mean, it's even just a short-term window that they have. You know, I know that there's greenhouses that are now growing cannabis that used to have lettuce growing in them.
Right.
And that farmer had this huge property and a big house, and, you know, fed his family, and all he was growing was 250,000 heads of lettuce, you know, once a year.
Farmers really aren't feeding their families all that much any day with all the government and the price of equipment and regulations, and things have changed there too.
Well, now you're talking the bigger farms like in Saskatchewan and places where they got to buy these combines.
I dealt with a lot of those people, and they're forced to renew these equipment, and
they are.
It's huge. It's a tough deal. It's stressful for them, right?
I know, they're financed to the hilt all the time.
You would not want to be one of those guys.
Know.
And they're up late, and they're up
early. And once
and
again, seasonal.
Yeah.
You know, and they rely on the season coming in the way that it's supposed to.
I think they should be rewarded a little more for the work.
I do too. I think that probably, you know, the cost of our food should maybe be a little more than it is, even though it's high already, but, you know, based on what it valued. But the price of cannabis is just astronomical, and all of that was supposed to be because it was prohibited. That, you know, you could lose your home and you could lose your livelihood, and then a lot more. So, you're going to make big bucks to do that. That makes sense. But we always wanted to see the price come down as activists. We talked about legalize and regulate. We wore bracelets that said that. And that was all about stop wasting our tax dollars on enforcing this law and ruining
Well, I think
people's
that's where
lives.
we come to the medical market and the recreational market. The recreational market can put out its fancy stuff and this and that. I mean, the medical can too, but I think the medical should be capped.
Well, there needs to be
or at
provision.
least covered by the government, so that it's
There needs to be provision for poor people.
Yeah.
For
So
people
it
that
should be
need
covered.
to use it on a daily basis that have to be able to afford it. And that's what the resistance is right now of allowing for that to happen.
Yeah, community grows.
They say that, these people can just go buy from the government stores. Well, no, they can't buy high
They have no
dose
money.
edibles, and they don't have the money to afford what's being sold there. We were brought a half a joint. Well, they sold it as a joint. I put it up against one of our joints. Our joints is 3 times longer. Theirs was half filter and half bud. Who knows? Maybe the bud in there was real kick-ass bud in that
I
little
got a
half
joint
joint.
the other day from the homeless guy. I'm always helping. Give him my coat. Anyways, he gives me this joint. So someone gave me a joint, and I don't smoke weed. He gives it to me. I took a look at it the next day. It was this skinny little fucking thing, and it was like half filter. There's no way there's more than like 1/10 of a gram in that.
And that's from the government store.
Because I smoked it, and it was like 3 puffs, and it was gone.
That's what this one would have been too.
Yeah, I had a little weed leaf on the filter. So yeah, disappointing.
Yeah, very
Robbery.
disappointing. Robbery is right.
Yeah.
So they need to make it so poor people can access cannabis. That's for sure. It's disgusting that it's the medical people that are suffering and sick, and it's the poor people, and it's the people that are
And the new
spiraled
people
into
that don't
addiction.
understand the difference. All right, they just going against the way. They don't understand the difference between what it should be and what it's not.
I'm
They
sure
just go
they're
and pay.
slowly being educated.
Yeah, yeah, because they're gonna run into their buddies or smoking weed.
Although
so
maybe
well,
this
yeah,
is the
some
big,
bitch.
maybe this is part of the you
That's
call
why-
it a pandemic. Maybe you all got to isolate now.
Yeah.
No more parties, no more getting
Yeah.
together. Maybe they just don't want people
Yeah.
comparing weed.
Yeah.
Maybe this whole thing
Scamdemic, yeah.
is about keeping people from understanding that
Yeah.
the government weed is crap.
Yeah.
Because this will get people going to the government store and buying their weed because they can't compare it to anybody else's because
the
nobody's
main
sharing
source that I'm sure of it, Neil.
sharing joints out there now.
Yeah.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
It all makes
Yeah.
sense now. Not only did this, whatever it is, pandemic shut down all of the increasingly successful protests that were happening around the
For
world,
sure.
but it's
It
kept
sure
people
did.
apart and not able to congregate and share and compare weed. And maybe this was the last grasp of the government to try to prop up their monopoly of weed stores. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to make light of a pandemic that is killing people, according to all the best experts. But there's a lot of other sides to this that really aren't being reported enough. I mean, I'll dare to go there for a minute, but the divisiveness that's happened, the people that are fighting amongst each other, the friendships that have been ended, the mental health issues, the suicides, the doubling of people dying from the overdose epidemic because they're isolated, using alone, depressed, all of these other issues that are costing our society, the ruination of family businesses, the ruination of so much of our economy. We're going to be so long having the excuse given to us that, we can't afford this program and we can't afford to do this anymore because we're still trying to recover from having sent all you people money during the COVID thing. It goes on and on and on. I was somewhat pleased to see Premier Horgan come out and at least say that, you put your mask on to go into the grocery store, and when you get to your car, you take it off. I mean, he really should also be letting us know that if you can physically distance from people, that you don't need to wear the mask. The mask is really triggering for a lot of people. I am not anti-mask. I think if you have to get close to people, if there's people that are showing symptoms or sneezing or coughing and what have you, that you probably want to have a mask on. But I went to see my mom. Not allowed to go into her assisted living facility to visit with her, but she could come out, and we sat on the bench and had pizza again last night. She's really distressed that everybody around her is wearing a mask. I know some people feel safe about it, and that's fine.
You can't go in. She can come out.
Yeah.
And then she can go.
And
back
then she
in.
can share pizza with us and then go back in.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, don't it? Sorry.
Yeah, you know, not much around here
Come
makes
out,
much
get the virus,
sense.
bring it back in, but you can't bring just the guy with the virus in.
Well, and there's the guy from Save On Foods. He's there. Every Monday is Mom Day for me. It's
cool.
Saturday, Sunday, Mom Day, Tuesday. And so Mom Day, I go see my mom, and she really needs to have this contact. She's losing touch with reality and with her memories and stuff. Yeah. But, you know, here's the guy that shows up every time I go there on Monday with the Save On Food order for people. And they come and they line up, and he hands them their stuff and takes it. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. I walked into a gas station twice last week, and I was the only one in there. There was the cash register person behind the plexiglass wearing a mask, and I'm just going to the bathroom. But I walk in there, and they're like, pull your mask up, because my mask is on my chin until I need it. I'm like, there's nobody in the store. Why would I pull my mask up? And now he's going to argue with me both times. First the woman and the one out in Abbotsford, and then another one here in Vancouver, and rudely argue with me in ways that no customer service person would have ever done beforehand. But now apparently there's a license to be rude to your customers. I mean, some people are getting beat up for it. You know? It's just really bad. All these other sides of it, and yet, and part of the bad thing is what I've just said here in the last few minutes is something that I'm going to take some flack for, and people are going to be saying you're anti-mask and you should shut the fuck up, and because of you now we're going to have another wave of COVID because people aren't going to be pulling their masks up when there's nobody around them. Well,
I wear my mask wherever I gotta go.
If I have to, I do. I will voluntarily if I think that there's too many people in a space.
Yeah, I did that today myself.
I'm not, you know, I don't want to be rude and get close to somebody who might not appreciate me getting rude to them, even though I'm not sick and nobody I know is sick, and they're treating it like here's a couple of
I
really
just
good
want
friends.
the shit to be over with. So
Me too.
Yeah.
2 really good friends for years and years of my sons are now not happy with each other because one has decided he's going to go to Vancouver Island to meet somebody that he's been chatting with, and he thinks it's important in his life to go and do that. Now this guy is one of the most scared guys going on. I mean, he has been self-isolating himself. He goes nowhere without a mask. He's washing every time. He's crazy about it, right? And he's deciding he's okay to go on the ferry and go and meet this person. His other friend thinks you're nuts to do that. Why would you do that? And he's saying, why would you be bringing COVID over to the island? Well, this guy doesn't have COVID. They're treating it like we should imagine everybody's got it, and it's hanging in the air everywhere, and we should just be really, really afraid. While I think they fleece us and bring in laws against us.
Seaplane, man.
You were doing
Took
what?
the seaplane over the island.
Nice.
Everybody wore their masks.
There's ways of doing things that are safe, and as long as we're doing that, then why the mass hysteria, and why continue to be divisive and give mixed messages in what's going on? I don't know. Anyway, that's my rant about that. You know, I hope this goes away too. I really hope it goes away. And I hope, and then we could talk about the vaccine side of it as well, where they're really, somebody said today, they're just baiting us here in Canada, where they're going to make it seem like, you know, we're behind on everybody else in the world getting it. And that's because the polls have shown that there's a fair bit of resistance to the vaccine in Canada. Yeah. So they think that if they say that, oh, we can't get it to you for a while, the longer that drags on, the more people are going to say, hey, please give it to us. You know, we need this thing. So I don't know what I think of that. I think there's been a major campaign to get
side
people
effects
vaccinated
don't seem so
for years.
good. You got to do it twice. I cut a little cut.
I don't know what to think. I mean, I'm not anti-vaccine either. I mean, obviously there's some good come with vaccines. Yeah. But there's been such a push for the last decade. Not just
wait till they've tested it a little while.
I don't trust them at all. I don't know why.
Hey, but there's a lot of people volunteering.
You know, I learned to read the news,
which is good. You know what I mean? They're putting their own health at risk to help other people, so that's courageous of them.
I've been very suspicious of governments and corporate agendas for a long, long time. And I learned to read between the lines a lot, and to see what the motivation behind the stories is, and why would they be telling us this like that, and what does that achieve? And over the last decade, there's been just this phenomenal push, from my perspective, about vaccinations, that they want all the old people vaccinated for the flu season, they want all the children vaccinated for 26 different things, and there's a lot of other push to get, you know, a lot of pushback against people that are anti-vaccination. A good media campaign, like a really sophisticated media campaign against all of that.
You know, these guys create their own campaigns as well. You know that, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of skullduggery going on.
Yeah.
You know,
I think
and
the
all of
smoking
that,
companies have to, by law, to create so much anti-smoking ads.
And that's another side of it.
Right? So they have
How
to.
can they sell that shit?
Yeah.
How can you be addicted to commercial tobacco that you can go and buy
I am at the
in
moment.
every
Hopefully change that in a
drugstore,
couple
every
days.
grocery store, every gas station, everywhere is available that product, which is very, very well documented to be killing several million people every 12 months. And is like the number one reason for hospitalizations with the lung problems and the breathing problems. How can that be available in all of these places with no fuss made about it whatsoever, while our governments go to all this great trouble to protect us from cannabis? Yeah, and they got warnings. If you need a warning, if it's justified, if it's the truth, that's how you protect people. Tell them the truth. But look at what they're doing with cannabis, with all these different fucking meetings and experts and using tax dollars and forums and oh my fucking god, the advertising campaigns, all the money that they're spending and all the restrictions that they're putting on it, when there's this other product that's available in every fucking gas station around town. Like it is such an upside down world, and we just seem to be able to be manipulated, I guess, because they get away with it. And drives me nuts. So, well, what else should we talk about? Are we pretty much there? I think, we did a show. We're waiting to see what the police do next here at the Healing Wave Cannabis Substitution Program RV. We're looking for another storefront. We looked at one today. We've put a message into the people that are putting that up for lease. We will find another storefront. We're optimistic that we will get some sort of a ministerial exemption, hopefully before too much longer, that would even allow us to move back into the space we had originally. If we could get that, the landlord would allow us back in there, the city would give us a license. And now on that note, I want to say that Doug and Michelle Sikora have had their license renewed by their city for their dispensary, so good on them, and that's awesome to see. Yeah,
that's cool.
They do fantastic work over there.
That's awesome.
Well, they're such a cute couple, and they're relentless, and they tell the truth in such a, well, I don't know about Michelle, but I mean, Doug, he's just kind of a happy-go-lucky guy that, how can you say no to a guy like that? And they have furthered the issue over there. It's one of the main battlegrounds that we have over there where they are. To get their city council to approve what they're doing, to be allowed to exist, to create all of these wonderful edibles that they provide for people. They were big sponsors of our cannabis substitution program over the years as well. So they've done some amazing work in getting all that done. Thank you guys so much for that. And good on you for getting another business license for another year. That's just super too. And so we're thinking we can get the same thing, we have to get it from the federal government first, so that's the big thing, is wait for the federal health minister to give us this temporary exemption. If you out there in TV land can do something about that for us, that would be awesome. Maybe if enough people called Patty Hayduke in her office, wrote her emails, sent actual written letters, all of those things, whatever you think you can do to get them to give us this temporary exemption until we can get a real license, because we shouldn't be in an RV barely able to help people and on the verge of being wiped out by law enforcement or other forces in an RV. We should be back in the storefront serving this community the way that it deserves to be served. So we're hopeful that that's going to happen in the not too distant future. Meanwhile, we are under an order by the Vancouver Police to cease our operations here. And they're going to have to come and enforce that. We, in all good conscience, myself and the other directors, members, advisory board to do with the Serious Hope Society, in all good conscience, could not ever turn our backs on the people who have come to rely on us. We don't judge them in their plight. We're not here to say, pull up your own socks and move forward and don't look for help. people get to a position sometimes where they need help, and without judgment we want to offer that help, and that's what we are doing. And so we need to be assisted in doing that. We need to be allowed to do that. And so far, well, we're waiting to be allowed, and we've been told to stop. And we'll see where all that goes. The continuing saga of the quest for the community-based cannabis store continues. In the meantime, you can keep updated on other things going on in the cannabis world. The Pot TV has other shows going on all week long. Monday, it's Carly Marley with the 420 Lifestyle and BC Bud Gal. And on Wednesday, it's Greg Williams with From Under the Influence. And on Thursday, BC Bud Gal is back with Morning Glory, 10 a.m. That's an early show. All the other shows are around 4 p.m. except for High Noon on Saturday, which happens at high noon, of course. And I skipped over Johnny B on Fridays with How to Grow. How's it growing? Must be done growing by now. It must be into a second crop already by this time. But if you want to know anything about growing weed and a whole bunch of other stuff, related and peripheral, then Johnny's a good show to watch as well. And Sundays, you get the day off. I'll be back next Tuesday with another update on our continuing saga. Maybe we will have been raided and arrested. Maybe we'll get our piece of paper. Who knows? But if you want to know, you got to tune into the show next Tuesday at 4 p.m. In the meantime, do what you can to help change the world in whatever way you think is fit. If you can write letters, make phone calls, contact media, politicians, and other people of influence, that would be great. And whatever you do, make sure that you're kind to each other, that you stay safe and stay sane, and have as much fun as you can.